Hey, what's up guys? Chief Pat here, and today bringing you guys a brand new Clash Royale video, and today we're going to be bringing back the Royal Giant inside of a Grand Challenge because the Royal Giant has been seeing a big increase in play recently inside of challenges because it's super strong against certain type of decks. Now, the deck I'm going to be using today has the Royal Giant as the main card, as well as a bunch of different support units like the Knight, the Mega Minion, the Ice Wizard, the Log, which you guys love to see, and let's go ahead and try it out right now inside of some battles and see if we can make it work. Now, the Royal Giant definitely has its strengths against some decks in the meta, so decks like the Mortar and the Expo, obviously the Royal Giant is amazing against, and then against certain other types of decks can do really well as well, and unfortunately it is weak against the Inferno, which we've been seeing a decent amount of, but with the Inferno Tower nerf inside of the most recent balancing changes, it actually works out pretty decently around against that as well, as long as you have a zap spell or something to help out with it. Now, starting off with this push on the right hand side, I decided to let go of the Goblin Barrel on the left, just because I wanted to see if I could get more damage off with my push on the right hand side without having to waste my zap spell. And as my troops make their way to the tower, it looks like we're going to take it down to the 1400s. Not too bad at all. I'll even log down that princess right there, and then we'll just sort of even out. As he drops another Goblin Barrel, I will have to take out this one, and I'll play a Knight to defend on that right hand side. Now, with the Royal Giant push, you want to make sure you almost always drop it at the front of the bridge whenever you're using this type of deck, because it doesn't give your opponent that much time to react. I know you guys have played against Royal Giants billions of times where they just play it right in front of the bridge over and over again, and the second you make a mistake with your cannon, you make a mistake with your Inferno Tower, with your Tesla, with your whatever, the game is pretty much over, and that's why you always want to be putting pressure on your opponent with the Royal Giant and to see if you're able to pull out a W. Now, meanwhile, on the left-hand lane, we've got a minion horde going for my tower. I did drop the Ice Spirit, but for some reason it missed one of the minions. My Royal Giant will get 2 hits off against that right-hand tower, and again, we're staying fairly even right now. I feel like if I just had a better combination of cards, I definitely would be able to get a better push down that right-hand lane, but I haven't been able to find that perfect push just yet, and we're pretty much all tied up going into the last minute and 10 seconds of the battle, and let's go ahead and prepare for one final push to see if we can make it happen. Now, meanwhile, he's playing his Furnace down the right-hand lane. I'm not sure why he's doing that at this point, because he knows that he wants to take out that left-hand tower, but instead he's just going to let that Furnace keep burning away. So I'll let his Furnace do whatever it wants on the right-hand side. Meanwhile, on the left, he's got his Miner as well as his Goblin Barrel. I'm actually going to miss with my Zap spell. That was a really nicely played Goblin Barrel by him. It sort of tricked me out right there. And now we're going to have to keep going with our push on the right-hand lane, and now he doesn't have any more buildings to stop my Royal Giant. I'll zap down the minions to help out my Ice Wizard and Mega Minion right there, and the tower will go down all the way to 0 as the Log breaks it down, and we'll have a Knight and an Ice Spear to stop this Goblin Barrel. So we didn't have the Zap spell. We had to use a little bit of an impromptu defense on that left-hand side, and now it's going to come down to the last 20 seconds to see if we're going to be able to pick up that win. So Mega Minion and Ice Wizard onto that Miner, 232 damage left. His Princess will target onto my Knight instead of onto my tower. 10 seconds left in the battle. I'm going to go ahead and zap down his skeleton army, and as his Miner runs towards my Crown Tower, looks like he's going to take it all the way down to 40 HP before the battle is finally over, and that will wrap it up for a clean 1 crown to 0 victory. So definitely tense toward the end. I did have a counter push running towards his tower, so I think I still would have been fine if we went into double elixir or into overtime, but a very nice win right there. Let's go ahead and continue against Kappa from Konoha 11 and to see if we can keep up the Royal Giant success. Now again, I'm not going to play the Royal Giant right away. I'll play the Mega Minion from the back and then use the Royal Giant as follow-up. So as we get closer to 10 elixir, Royal Giant's going to go down right now. He's got a Knight going down the left-hand lane. There goes the Inferno Tower, and now we're going to have to take that out. So let's go ahead and make sure it doesn't burn my Royal Giant into pieces. Now, it's still going to get a decent amount of damage against the Royal Giant. And take a look at the Expo. This guy does have the Expo inside of his deck, so we're going to find out if this deck really does work against those siege decks like I told you it did. Now, a big mistake from me, or not even a mistake, it's just something I couldn't have known until I got into battle, is this guy is running that Expo deck, and I had already played my Royal Giant on that right-hand side, so he's just going to have a crazy amount of success on this very first push of the game, but I'm going to be smart, and I'm going to make sure from here on out that I don't drop my Royal Giant unless it's going to be onto an Expo, or else he will have a lot of success against my tower. Even if I have to wait to drop my Knight onto the Expo, that'll be okay as well, but now at this point, we definitely need to be careful with how we push against this guy, but do realize that once we take that first tower, just like any other Expo deck, it's really hard for them to win the game. Most Expo users are going for a 1 crown to 0 victory every single time, or a 2 crown to 0 victory, 3 crown to 0 victory, but they do not want one of their towers being taken. taken, and he's going to play a naked rocket onto my tower. Now, I don't recommend ever doing that, so because of that, I am going to drop my Royal Giant. I know I said I didn't want to drop it, but because he did play that card by itself, I will do it. Zap Spell is going to go down just before the Royal Giant dies, which is really good, and take a look at the Royal Giant. It has 1 HP left, but the fact that that 1 HP is keeping it alive, it's even going to live through that Ice Spirit right there and give me the very first tower of the game. Now, just like I said, this makes the game infinitely easier for me. I don't have to worry about the Expo cheesing me at all points of the game. I now have the other side of the map that I can work with if he plays his Expo, making it much easier to counter. Let's go ahead and drop some of our cards to prepare for a push, and as he drops his rocket again, I will drop my Royal Giant if he does drop that rocket onto the tower. Now again, Ice Spirit will stop that Inferno Tower. He's got his tower locked onto my Mega Minion, which is a little bit unfortunate because that's the main damage dealer inside of my deck besides the Royal Giant, but still the Royal Giant is just doing so much work right now. Zap will be perfectly timed to help out as well, and now with 27 seconds left in the battle, he did end up taking my tower with the log or something else that he dropped earlier, but with 1400 HP left on his tower, it's going to be really hard for him to do anything against my base, because now I've got the Royal Giant perfectly played, I've got the Knight versus his Knight, and yeah, we're going to be able to do pretty decently from here on out against that Expo, and it'll just be a matter of time before we whittle down that left-hand tower, but it might take a decent amount of time, just because of the fact that he has such strong defenses inside of his deck. So let's just drop a Miner by itself, another Expo on his side of the map. I'll drop an Ice Spirit to freeze that Inferno Tower. My Mega Minion's going to do work against that Expo right there, and again, his Expo will do nothing against that right-hand tower. I think at this point, this guy pretty much has to play for a tie. I don't know how else he would get a victory, and meanwhile, let's go for another push with the Royal Giant. We've got the Miner on the tower as well. Ice Spirit to help out against the Mega Minion. I do need to make sure I zap down that Inferno Tower to give my Royal Giant a little bit more time, but it looks like it didn't even matter, but still, slowly but surely, 100 HP at a time. I don't care how long it'll take. We're going to take out that tower as long as we play solid defense and don't make any mistakes against his Expo. In fact, he's going to drop an Expo on defense. How strange is that? You almost never see an Expo on defense, but like I told you, this guy probably realizes that at this point, his best chance to win this game is probably just by playing defense and hoping for a tie. So he doesn't even have a chance of winning. It's just all about playing defense and hoping for the best, and that's what he's going to do. And right as my Mega Minion makes it to his side of the map, I'll drop my Royal Giant to tank, and now I have a full health Mega Minion. I have 2 full health Mega Minions helping out. The Royal Giant, the Miner, everything's going to be locking onto the tower, and finally, such an annoying game against this Expo user, but we'll pull out the victory with 1 minute and 45 seconds left in overtime. We definitely needed that extra 2 minutes in overtime that you do get from being inside of a challenge. Normally you get 1 minute, but they add on 2 minutes for a challenge, so it's 3 minutes of overtime, and we ended up pulling out that victory after 4 minutes and 25 seconds using the Royal GG. Now, one more battle using this deck. Let's go ahead and put it to work. He's going to play a Furnace right now, so I'm just going to play a Royal Giant right in his face. I had a really awkward set of cards. I guess I could have waited and played that a little bit better, honestly, so really not the best start to me, and now he has a pretty solid counter push against my Royal Giant. So all in all, do not replicate that start of the game that I just played, because that was just really, really ugly. I guess we're going to get a couple of hits off against the tower, but he does have a massive elixir lead right now. You got to keep that in mind, because I know I spent so much on offense right there, and I got 300 damage against his left-hand tower. Who knows what this guy's going to play on his side, and he's going to play the Royal Giant as well. So we've got Royal Giant on Royal Giant action. In fact, I'm going to drop a log to help out right now against those guards, and as that Royal Giant locks onto my tower, I need a little bit more DPS to burst him down, so let's play our Knight. And yeah, this is definitely going to be a rough game. Now that we know that we're playing each other's decks, obviously the supporting cards are way different. He has guards and archers. I have a bunch of different cards and none of those, as well as he has a Furnace. So 2 different type of Royal Giant decks. And as the archers make their way to my side of the map, I do have to zap them out to make sure we don't take too much damage. Now, Furnace will start burning down my tower, and again, being at such an elixir disadvantage, I do have to make sure that I take a little bit of damage. I can't, like, defend against everything he's throwing at me until the elixir is even, so the Furnace will do a decent amount of chunk to my left-hand tower, but now we can go for our push. We've got the Royal Giant down the Mega Minion and the Ice Wizard, and did I say Royal Giant, Mega Minion, and Ice Wizard? I meant the Royal Giant. We're just going to keep struggling right now. It looks like my Ice Spirit will help my Royal Giant get a couple more hits off against the tower, but still, it's going to be rough. to try to make sure we even up that damage, because now we're about 1,000 HP down. In fact, his Mega Minion will get a hit off against my tower, and his Archer is going to get some shots off on my tower as well. But again, guys, I cannot play anything against those, or else I would just be so far down as far as Elixir went that the game would be basically over. Now, Furnace yet again is going to be burning down this left-hand tower. I don't know what I'm supposed to do about it. I'll just go ahead and play my Ice Wizard again, and again, I've got my Mega Minion in my hands. Mega Minion's going to start doing work, and he actually plays a terrible lightning spell. That could be what we need to change the game. He actually only zapped like my Royal Giant and the tower, so that means we're going to go for a crazy push down this left-hand side, and just like that, we needed look at the Royal Giant, 1 HP left on the Royal Giant. It's going to keep shooting the tower over and over again, and somehow, some way, we are back in this game due to the 1 HP Royal Giant just hanging in there and giving us exactly what we needed. Now, Miner's going to try to do work against the tower. The Miner's going to bring the tower down to 196. My Royal Giant's going to go down yet again. I'm going to zap his tower as well as throw the log, and with 7 seconds left in the game, we're going to take down that tower, and he's going to take down our tower as well. So we are dead even. In fact, I think I have an Elixir advantage right now, so the game is back in our favor. Let's try to make this game perfect inside of overtime. No more silly mistakes like we made in the very beginning. And let's see if we can pull out a clutch victory and make this game one to remember. All right, so Mega Minion versus his Mega Minion. His is slowed by my Ice Wizard, so that's going to be really good. And check out my Royal Giant placement. Perfect Royal Giant placement to make sure my troops in the right-hand side have a perfect lane to attack his tower. I've got the Zap spell going down to the guards as well as the Furnace. The Royal Giant is still doing massive damage against his Crown Tower, and now with so many troops running towards his tower, I'm just hoping this game's over. In fact, I'm going to drop another Royal Giant in his face and take a look as that full HP Royal Giant burns down that tower. From such a sloppy beginning to the game all the way to a perfect ending, that's going to be how this one crumbles down with 2 minutes and 11 seconds left in overtime. So good game right there against a fellow Royal Giant user. And guys, the Royal GG is back, and it is working inside of challenge gameplay. I don't condone the usage on the tournament ladder. It's so annoying. I mean, of course you can use it, but it's definitely more annoying to play against on the tournament ladder when it's over leveled. But you guys can try this deck inside of challenge mode and see what you guys think. Personally, I think it's really fun. You don't have to have, again, all the support cards that I use with it. You can switch it up with other things, but the main point of this deck is that the Royal Giant is playable right now, and you can have a pretty good amount of success with it. So yeah, that's going to do it for this video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you smack that like button. Until next time, I will see you guys later. Peace out.